Karja, my friends. I'm Luke. Welcome to the Healing Forest podcast. This is a space where we unearth how nature has rooted and supported our guests to blossom and grow within their own ecosystem and life. Our guest today is a Reiki master, gifted energy healer, Seichen master, forest bathing guide, crystal healer, life coach, mentor, teacher. I could go on, but above all this, she is such a loving, amazing, protective mother, loyal, passionate, strong, independent woman. She is also my wife. It is Nicoline Charmant Walsh. How are you today?
I'm good. And thanks very much for having me here. Jesus, that's some introduction. But I can see that there's been a lot of thought put into the introduction. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem. It's well deserved. It's, I could have kept going on there for a long time. So I wanted to just drop in a level deeper just from the start, and we can kind of do that by following our breath and allowing the thoughts to slow. We walked in the forest earlier, and the buds bursting through the forest floor, and the activity of wildlife increasing this time of year, and the sound of the bird song, bringing the air to life, a returning home. So, Nicoline, what is nature to you?
That's a good question. For me, nature is a place that I can just be myself. It's a place where I go in times where, my headspace might not be great. My headspace might be, very busy. It's a place where there's no judgment. When I walk or work in forests, I really don't feel that sense of being judged. Whereas depending on what experiences or who you're around, sometimes you may start to, kind of get a sense of, I'm being judged here. So it's a safe space for me to go into and just be myself. No judgment exists in nature. And it's a place for me to restore, my natural rhythm. It's a safe space for me to find peace within myself. That's kind of my understanding and my relationship I have with nature.
Now, you were talking right there being kind of the safe space. What springs to mind? Which kind of time in your life springs to mind where that nature or that kind of support has been so important in your life?
A few years ago, I experienced some challenges with our teenage daughter at the time, and I remember feeling so overwhelmed, and I was like, what the hell do I do here? Like, I thought I was a good mother. I thought I was doing everything that I was supposed to be doing, but here we are, and mental health is not good with her. And I remember being so overwhelmed. And I remember deciding to go for a walk in the forest, and I just couldn't stop crying. And I sat down in the forest, and I just had an experience where it was like a surrender. You have to surrender to this experience, and you're really going to need to dig deep and trust that everything that is unfolding, that it's unfolding for a reason, and that you possess all the skill sets that is required of you at the moment to be able to help her. And it's funny because in that moment, I'm at my lowest. I'm desperate. I really don't know what to do. But in that space, I was able to, collect myself, ground myself, and listen to my inner wisdom of you've got this. You're going to be able to work with this. And you're going to be able to be guided to connect with the right people that will be able to, help you here. And what was interesting is that by the time I had, started to, let's say, come to my senses, I had a plan. I had a plan in regards to, what I was going to do next. And it was huge for me because the plan was I need to work on myself. If I'm to support this person and to help this person be the best possible version of themselves, me as a parent, as an example, I have to work on myself. And it's funny because you have different experiences, and typically when there is a crisis, you reach out to various people and you're looking for support. You reach out to a counsellor, because it's head stuff, so you're looking for support there. But for me, the key is actually for the parent to dig deep and to start to work with themselves. That is the key to helping your child to navigate their way through whatever it is that has come through. It is an opportunity for you to dig deep and for you to start really looking at yourself. What's working with you? What's not working with you? As you work with yourself or on yourself, I like to use the word with, as you work with yourself, because it's union, it's a team. Me, myself, and I, you all work together. And you're then, able to support your child through inspiring them while they see the work that you're doing on yourself and how you start to show up. You naturally influence them in regards to what it is that's going on for them. So it's linked in with, you're on the plane, you see the air hostess and she's doing put the oxygen mask on yourself. And as a mum, we have a tendency to put the oxygen mask on our kids first. And I was like, yeah, that's what I would have been doing. But that's not great, because you put the oxygen mask on them, so you're trying to fix them, you're trying to repair them, you're trying to fix them, and you're not doing anything for yourself. You're in that scenario, you're going to pass out. And then you're no good to them. So it is put the oxygen mask on yourself first. i.e. work on yourself, work with yourself. And then you will be able to put the oxygen mask on them. And then you will be able to support them the way you're meant to support them.
Yeah, important message, yeah. Just about childhood then, and can you paint a picture of your childhood, where you were rooted, kind of your surroundings and family, where that was?
So West Africa, Ghana, in a village called Mim. I spent a lot of time outside. My goodness, every day from the minute you wake up to after you've had breakfast, you're either, in swimming pools, or you're walking around in pine forests, or you're walking around in, lemon trees or orange trees or guava trees. So if you're hungry, it's like, yeah, pick an orange, not a lemon because it's bitter. And yeah, my earlier years, I spent a lot of time outside, from, early morning until, late at night, a lot of time spent outside. No devices like the kids are experiencing these days. We were allowed to watch TV, one movie on Thursdays, and that was it. Everything was, you're either reading or you're playing outside, you're climbing trees, you're doing, you're running, you're doing relays, or you're trying to, tune into, what some other family members may be getting up to, but it's all outside. It's all outdoor activities. That's the kind of upbringing I had. And you're, a sense of freedom of being allowed to roam the land kind of comes into play for me in regards to my earlier years. And when I touch on pine forests, I can start to get that sense and that smell and the feel of the pine forest, prickly in my hands, and the smell as well.
Sounds incredible. So now you're affecting lots of people in amazing ways. Was there like life-changing events or forks in the road that you kind of reflect on from that kind of stage to now, that there was a choice that you made or whatever that's kind of led to where you are now?
Gosh, there's quite a lot of moments there, but I'm going to bring it back to my daughter again, because I really feel that with her and the experience that I had with her, and by the way, it was she's a gift. Although I have had experiences where I'm like, oh my God, like this is just so much work. I'm actually not able for this. Like, what kind of a gift is this? Is there no return policies here? No. A child is for life. There's no return policies or refunds here. When I started to experience kind of the mental health challenges there, I really had to dig deep. And that was definitely for me a defining moment for me, because I had a choice to make, which was I go into victim mode. Oh, poor me, poor mom experiencing this. But that's like powerless stuff. So yes, I had elements of that. And then I also had elements of like, I can do this, I've got this, and what can I do? And, it really helped me to be here today the way I am, because it's one of those experiences that it's going to make you or it's going to break you. And for me, it made me, because I chose for it to be one of those experiences that was going to help me to be the best possible version of myself. So that's one of them. But there's another one linked with her again. Didn't have, even though lots of experiences of great, being outside, and it all sounds deadly, but there are elements of experiences that I had in my childhood which weren't great, and they've definitely shaped me. They don't define who I am, but they've definitely shaped me. And, when I had my daughter, I made myself a promise. And this promise I always, it always stays with me. I promised myself that there was no way in hell that I was going to allow anybody to treat her the way I was treated. And to this day, if someone, family members, well, they don't do it anymore, but at the start they would have, where they start to badmouth, I was like, no, I'm sorry. That's not your role. It's my role. I'm the one who is, here to be able to facilitate that with her, not anybody else. So it allowed me then to really understand loyalty at a different level. And that my loyalty is to my children. However, if the child is misbehaving, it's very important that it's called out. So it isn't that you're loyal and you're biased. It's important that with the loyalty, that if they are doing things that is not okay, you must call that out, that it's not okay. But it's very important to reinforce that you're there unconditionally and that you love them exactly as they are. You love them that they're perfect, and you love them that they're not perfect. So, those are, defining moments for me that have definitely shaped the type of person that I am today.
Yeah. I reflect back to when you came over from Ghana, I think when you were about 7, and then you actually moved in the road from me when you were about 9. So I saw you when you were about 9 years old, basically. And we're 42 and 43 now. And yeah, you lived up the road from me, like less than 5 minutes drive. So I remember my mum going, "Jeez!" Like she told me like me getting whiplash when we drove by you in the car because my head would like whip around and be like, "Whoa, what's going on? Who's this?" You know. And that was going on for years, and then you kind of disappeared when you were 18. You left home and you went down to Bray then, but so then I met you just spontaneously in a bar when we were 23 or 24, something like that. So I hadn't talked, but I had done research on you basically, which is like
stalker alert.
Which is like I was playing football and I was like, "Hey, do you know the girl that lives up in Glencullen?" No, they're like, "Oh yeah, Nikki, yeah," and all this stuff. So then I was like, "Oh right, we've got a name now, yeah." And then I found out where you lived and stuff like that, you know. And then I'd be getting the bus home. So there was a stalker there, all right. Which isn't saying stalking is okay or anything, but it's I did a good job and I got you in the end. Anyway, that's the way I'm looking at it. But you really fascinated me, and it's amazing the wildness that I kind of saw in you. I felt was like, yeah, you still fascinate me to this day. It's an amazing trait that you have. So I just wanted to say that, and yeah. So I just want to kind of appeal to the listeners and softening kind of the mind and allowing the possibilities of anything, because we're just going to dive into a few questions on energy healing. So kind of letting the walls of logic drop for a minute, and we're just going to explore kind of what happens in one of your energy healing sessions.
Well, first of all, I welcome anybody that comes, into my space. And in my kind of mindset, like these people are drawn to my energy for a reason. And it's no coincidence that person has come into my space, at that time. And, the first experience then really is, I meet you where you're at, which is very important for me because sometimes I get a sense that people struggle because they're not being met where they're at. They are expected to meet somebody where that person is at. And I feel that that's a little bit of a block then already. So for me, it's very, very important to meet everybody who comes into my space, where they are at. And then we go from there. Anything, I suppose, is really possible is another thing in my, healing space. So typically, there's a bit of a chat, to see where you're at in your journey, what's going on for you and, why are you drawn into that space at that time. And typically I'll, explain, how I work in that space. And I don't, I'm just not one of these energy healers that's, this is a mystical space and, I'm doing my thing and you don't know what's going on. I don't work like that as a healer. As a healer, I'm very open. And I explain, why am I doing this? Why am I, placing my hand here, or here? I explain all of that. So I preempt as much as I can. And where, someone asks me a question and I have the answer to it, I'll answer truthfully and honestly. And if somebody asks me a question that I don't have the answer to, I'll be honest and say, this is a new area or a new experience for me. Right now, I don't have the answer for this. However, I'm going to work with this, and likelihood is I'll probably have an answer for you soon. And that's kind of how I work. That's not how I've experienced Reiki sessions or energy healing. Sometimes I would have come out of there and been like, what was that? Like, why were they doing that? Like, I hope they were doing whatever it is that they were supposed to be doing. So there's a big trust element in there. But yeah, a Reiki session with me is very open. It's very honest. And, you get a sense of, this is happening because of this. So that's very important for me, because I feel that that's also one of the barriers sometimes of why people won't go into those spaces, because they really don't know what's going on.
Yeah. I've had some wild experiences before as well, with sessions. But of getting sessions, going to different modalities and stuff like that. But there usually is something else going on that may just not have been explained to you. So I get some of the emails and kind of, Instagram responses and stuff like that. And so whether they're testimonials or feedback, whatever way you want to term it, but the responses are outrageous. Like I've had lower back pain for 18 years, and after one session, it's like, I don't have that now. And then I'm back playing a certain sport, or I'm going exercising, or that's the one that's kind of more quantifiable, like a physical ailment that's not there anymore, and these are coming in all the time. But the other one, which is not so quantifiable, but is the change in behavior or attitude. So like, there was one yesterday about they value themselves. So after one session, she had never been to it, and she came, and the response was that she said no to someone yesterday and decided to go for a walk herself. And she was like, I've noticed that I'm like, my self-care, the value of herself has increased. And she's like made, 20 decisions basically based on that. Like, how is that happening within such a short space of time? So the woman is like 56 years old or something around that age. So like within an hour of a session with you, then she realizes her worth.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one. For me, it's about, like when you're looking at energy healing and you're looking at the Reiki modality, you're dealing with the idea that you're working with 7 large energy points. They call them chakras, or they call them vortexes, or, for me, I'm choosing to call it a large energy point. So that, large energy point, let's say one of them as an example. So the root chakra, so the large energy point there, like that is governing the person's, sense of safety and security. And, in the Reiki world, it would be known as, the number one, chakra. Now, if that is off, it's not balanced. And typically the signs of it not being balanced is that the person has experienced a lot of anxiety, depression may be in there. And, that area also governs the person's, fear, family unity, that's kind of, stored there as well. And you also have the person either feeling grounded or ungrounded. So, when all the chakras are working and balanced, I feel that people show up, within reason the way they're meant to show up. But where it's not balanced, I feel that's where some people then, would struggle. So a session with me, an energy healing session with me, it always involves balancing all these large energy points. And with that then, shifts are able to occur. But I suppose the question is, what is the difference between a Reiki session with me maybe and a Reiki session with somebody else? Because let's face it, there are loads of people that are Reiki masters or Reiki practitioners. There is one kind of difference with me, which is that I can channel very, very high levels of that energy. And through my learnings, I've been learning that different people are channeling different levels of that energy. But one of the things that I've been really able to tune into for myself is that I can channel higher levels of it. And being able to channel higher levels of that means that people are getting deeper energetic cleanses. Like I had one Reiki master herself, give me feedback. And I remember, thinking about it. And then I was like, wow, I get this now. So when you have a Reiki session with me, it's the equivalent of 3 Reiki masters working on you. And that was the feedback that Reiki master gave me. She said, my God, your channeling is so high. It's like boom, 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 boom. Like the negative energy just has to come out of my system. It has no choice. And it's so funny because I started to laugh and, energetically, I was like, when you're working with the energy, you can do the soft, love and light. Or you can channel the warrior kind of side of you and be like, love and light, get out, any negative energy, get out. And it's funny because sometimes when I'm doing my sessions, I laugh within myself because I'm like, my God, like I'm literally going into people's energy systems and I'm like pouring my heart and soul, like, channeling high levels of love frequencies and light vibrations into these people. And I feel that that's why they're having, those types of experiences. And, I'm very curious. I'm always looking into ways to help myself to be a better channeler. And it's really, really important. I go for regular Reiki sessions myself because, heal thyself is so true. You can't be out there facilitating sessions if you're not working on yourself or working with yourself. So for me, when I train my my Reiki students, I'm like, you need to link in with the students here or link in with me and get regular Reiki sessions. Clean yourself, energetically. Cleanse yourself. This allows you to start to channel higher levels of the energy. Like I know that there are, Reiki practitioners that don't get taught that. But this is something that I've been learning through my own journey is very, very important. You can channel those high levels based on the work that you do with yourself. And you can channel those high levels based on the intentions that you have. And also based on you allowing yourself to be that type of a channeler. So for me, the question for energy healers is, what type of a channeler do you want to be? Do you want to be like a normal channeler? That means you're going to have normal experiences. Or do you want to be that channeler that can channel such high levels that you are able to impact a person like that? For me, I'm all about let me facilitate this to the best of my ability. And that's what I always offer in my spaces. High levels of channeling abilities and high levels of understanding so that the person then starts to understand what's possible in that space. And then they start to slowly open up to the idea of like, Jesus, if that's possible in here, well then what else is possible within me?
You are able to see chakras or feel chakras, or how do you know that they're not spinning the way they're meant to spin?
Both. So my ability is I'm not a typical, what you would call a clairvoyant. So clairvoyant is somebody who's, seeing, spirit, and they may be seeing energy as well. And they may be seeing, like some, past life experiences, or they may see clips of like, future experiences as well. So there's different types of clairs. The type of clair I am is I'm a clairsentient. So clairsentient is someone who's able to sense. So I can sense energy. So I can sense, it's a male energy, it's a female energy, it's a child's energy, rough age is this. I can sense energy. So I can sense emotions in people's energy systems, and I can sense where it's blocked. If that emotion is blocked in the heart or it's blocked somewhere else in the energy system. And then I have learned techniques to be able to release those. And one of my, I can see the energy as well. I can see, the different colors and the patterns within the energy system as well. But my main thing is sensing. So when I, put my hands, let's say, over a person's energy system, let's say the root chakra, I start to get a sense of like, this is, and they might not have spoken at all. Start to get a sense of like, this is not balanced. Like, this is like at like, 30% capacity roughly. It's not even like, it's not 90. Let's try and get it to, 85 or 90. And for the record, there is no such thing as the whole person's energy system being 100% balanced. That's a myth. There'll always be about 10% off or 15% off. So you can get it to about 90 at best or 85, because the soul comes in here with, preloaded experiences or trapped emotions already, or ancestral healing requirements. So you're not going to be, able to balance chakras 100%. And this is something that I share with all my clients. And what's interesting is when I was getting my own, kind of sessions, I was under the illusion that like, okay, I'm 100% balanced now. I'm sorry, that's not true. The highest kind of balancing that you can get to is about 90% roughly.
Okay. What's your view on what happens when you die?
Ooh, wow. Okay, this is an interesting one because a few years ago, my middle son started to ask me questions around death, and I was like, oh man, or is that the stage that we're at already? So I then started to, ask myself questions. My first view of death is that like you die and you go to heaven, or you go to hell. That was my view in my early years. I guess you're starting to get hints of Catholic kind of coming through there, because that's, that would be the belief from that religion. You either, you're good, you go to heaven. You're bad, you go to hell. And now I've learned different. So the soul, this goes back to the soul. So the soul comes into a physical body. So the body will die, but the soul doesn't. The soul will go on to have many lives if it chooses that. And I use the if it chooses kind of lightly because it's a little bit more complicated than that. But let's say I'm going to work with that theory in regards to the soul is eternal. Because it's energy, you can't destroy that type of energy. But the body is a physical body. So the body, it is born and it is going to die. So the body aspect, yes, it dies. But the soul aspect, it's eternal. It doesn't die. So that's where I am in my kind of theory. So I suppose to sum it up then, what happens when you die? Well, I think it depends on the soul and what it has learned or what it hasn't learned. And if it has transformed all its kind karma, let's say. So if it has fully integrated, what it was here to experience, what it was here to learn, I feel that there's a choice that it either comes back into the earth plane, or it might go into a different plane, or with a different plane, it might, ascend to a certain level where it then, links in with other people and supports.
What other planes are you talking about there then?
Well, the first question is, how open are people's minds?
Yeah, they're open, so we can just dive in there for a second, just to kind of like a quick summary of what other planes there are. I mean, I hear you talking about different things, and some things I can relate to. Some things that then I pursue myself because they resonate more with me. Like a zero state mind and the astral travel and stuff like that. So there's like different aspects that would appeal to me, and then others that don't appeal to me. And so it's up to whoever to be open to it and then pursue it themselves. So it's kind of like a little invitation there, I suppose, of what your experience is.
Planes. So planes is like a word that I'm using, but some people would call it planets. But for me, I don't know. The word planets doesn't really sit well with me. But the idea of different planes, I'm able to work with that. I'm able to conceive that. And, as a soul, it is about what are you able to conceive, and it's based on your level of awareness. How aware are you to a point where you can now conceive that idea? You're working with that the whole time. Throughout the soul's journey, you're working with that the whole time. So I am where I am in my journey. I can conceive and understand that it's not just an earth only that we live on. There is, the lower level planes. And in the lower level planes, you have two. And I used to think that there was one, but then I would learn that, there is two. There is another plane where, yes, I'm going to go there. To me, it looks like it's a dragon plane. And then there is another plane where it looks like very high vibrational beings, energy beings reside. So I would call it the angelic plane. There are other planes as well, but I don't feel that I've been able to conceive those planes just yet. But those planes I've been able to conceive. Like, I had an experience whereby you're meditating and, it's like you're traveling, you're kind of coming out of your body, you're traveling, and it's going. And then it's like, I just hit black, like total black. But it was interesting because I didn't feel scared. It just felt, oh, this is like peace, but like, Jesus, it's like it's black, it's dark. And what I didn't realize at the time is I tapped into the zero state mind. And that's where you create. And as I just kind of, started to kind of consciously tune into that, because then I'm in my head. I came back out of that, and I would experience it again, kind of get to there, and then be able to go through to, other levels and get to like an angelic plane where I was like, oh my God. And the same thing again, because you're not in the theta brain state, you're in beta, so you kind of come out of that trance again. I've also had experiences of going into like a plane where it looked like it was just full of, forests, and there was no emotions there. There was no heavy emotions there. It was just bliss and and peace. And I remember when I got to that plane, I was like, Jesus, I'd love to be in this plane. And then it's the same thing again. It's your head. You've engaged your head too much, so you come out of that. So I suppose what am I talking about? I'm talking about different trance, state, different brainwave trance states. So it appears to me that it's theta. Theta is the one which kind of seems to allow you to be able to travel to these different planes. Basically, it's harder to travel to those planes in beta. Which we're kind of in that brain state every day. We're between beta and alpha every day. When you're on autopilot, you're on alpha. You can do a bit of traveling in that one as well, but not to the levels that you'll be able to when you're in theta brainwave state. That's kind of what I'm getting. But yeah, there's definitely more planes than I'm probably able to conceive. Is my theory.
Yeah, so if people have done plant medicine and stuff like that, then they might be able to relate to it, or maybe a high stress crisis time at night time. Then when I remember traveling basically at night time, getting sort of visions and stuff like that. But you've never done plant medicine, and you've never even smoked a joint or a drink or smoke or nothing like that. So how you talk about meditating? But I find that once you have visited this kind of altered state, it's much easier to go back. Like it's like kind of like a path that has been opened. So then you can go back with intention. So it's more direct then. But is this just meditating, or just it kind of naturally comes in? You're open, so then at nighttime, messages come to you or dreams come to you that you are due to have at that certain time. The guidance comes in because there's like an open line of communication there now.
Yeah, no, yes. To me, yeah, you've described it really well there, because there's one fundamental principle, which is what I kind of tapped into a little bit. How open is your mind? Okay, if your mind is closed, well, that's the experiences that you're going to have. If your mind is that bit more open, that's also the experiences that you're going to have. So for me, I started to feed into my mind is open. What else is possible? And I'm curious. So I would ask a lot of questions, like in my Reiki, practice. How did I get to this level? It's because I kept asking questions. And I would get answers, and then I'd have more questions. And it's funny because there's a saying, curiosity killed the cat. What about curiosity liberated the cat? What about that? So for me, my sense of curiosity is what has allowed me to get to this level. And my sense of don't give up has also led me to hear in regards to the energy healing world. So it's that sense of, feeding the curiosity within me. And, kids have that down to a T. They're curious, and for me as a parent experiencing the why, you're trying to concentrate and drive the car, and you're like, oh, Jesus, now it's not a good time. I need to focus on, getting us home safely. But that curiosity that they have, like that skill set, that can be classed as a healing tool. Because when you allow yourself to be curious, like, look at me. Like, I allowed myself to be curious, and I feel like I've gotten answers and been given, information that is allowing me to channel these high levels of Reiki frequency, as an example. If I wasn't curious, I don't feel I would have got to these levels. So for me, being curious, it's important. And, like, this is it, kind of like, that's not always the way to go.
Yeah, so channeling at high levels like that. So that means that you can affect someone that thought there was no hope, let's say. So I remember we were doing a session for a guy that had bipolar, and he's like 40. Yeah, he's 40. But basically, during the session and after the session, he was like, that's the second time. The first time was this one experience he had, but this is the second time in his whole life that he had no thoughts. So with bipolar, I think it's like 8 or 9 different voices going on at the same time and influences, and whereas this was life changing basically for him. So that's the upside to be channeling high. You know, it's to help others at a higher state that people. So like depression and anxiety. Do you feel like it's permanent? It'll always be there if someone has depression and anxiety?
No, I don't believe that. From an energy perspective, in regards to anxiety and depression, I don't believe that, that if you've been diagnosed with that, like that's it for the rest of your life. I do, though, want to kind of, stress that how much work you're prepared to do for yourself. That's what you're going to benefit from or not benefit from. So if, let's say, for example, someone comes into me and it's anxiety, there are multiple ways to tackle that. But that's also because there are layers of anxiety. So it isn't that the person woke up one day and then they were feeling high levels of anxiety. It means that over a period of time, they were experiencing anxiety, but maybe they weren't aware enough that that's what was really happening. So it means then that you're dealing with layers. So you're, going to repair the different layers. So like I've worked with loads of people where, they're medicated, they've done the John of God stint, or they've done the the counselling route, and then they decide, for whatever reason, for me though, it's they get guided, and they'll come into my space, and I'll just start to work with them. And I've seen where I've done 6 sessions with someone, and even by the 4th session, they're like, I don't feel that, like, I don't have that anxiety anymore. And for me, I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is what's possible. Like, this is what that person is able to do for themselves once you're able to hold the space a certain way. And I've worked with clients that, through the support of their doctors, they come off their medication that they've been taking for the last, 10 years for anxiety. And they're delighted with themselves. It's like a rebirth. It's like they're reborn. And it's something that they didn't think was possible, but it is possible. I see it all the time in my healing rooms. The impossible stuff, I see it. And it's an absolute honor and a privilege. I'm very, very grateful to be able to hold space like that. So yeah, for me, when I see things like that, anxiety, or I see depression, being able to facilitate to a level where they've healed themselves. I'm very clear. I don't heal you. You heal you. I'm just very good at holding your space. But you're your own healer. You're your own medicine. You just need to link in with someone that's good at holding your energy, holding your space, so that you can do that type of healing yourself. And I know that my Reiki teacher will be like, Nicoline, like, seriously, you play a huge role, in supporting that type of healing. So on one level, you are kind of healing them. But for me, that's not my stance. My stance is that I'm very good at holding space to a point where you will be able to heal yourself.
Yeah. I was just reflecting there on the healing people and our journey then so we set up the Healing Forest based on our experience, our crisis time with our daughter. And yeah, we were looking for different things around the place and we weren't able to access them really. She went to counselling, and then it was some of the advice we got from the counselling was not so helpful. Even now, looking back on some of the support around that, all that was not great. But I acknowledge personally, I acknowledge that it was there for a reason, because it spurred us on to do something ourselves and provide stuff, provide a service for others in that similar situation. And I was feeling about the attracting things. So when you're doing the work, so after a session with you, or when you're kind of doing the work on yourself, there must be space being made of some way, or letting go of some sort, that allows for other things to come in. Because I remember loads of synchronicity going on around that time. I was like, oh, geez, I really need, someone that's like this. And then I'd get a phone call, or I would bump into someone and they would say, oh, I'm a social worker, or whatever I needed at that time came in. What's your view energetically of that? Because that's also happening with your clients as well. There's fertility, and there's like, they find the love of their life, or there's promotions, there's job offers that they haven't applied for and stuff like that, coming in. Energetically, is there like a making space for that, or what is your view on that?
My view is that we all individually need to learn to vibrate higher. I feel that is part of the soul's, ask, let's say, or remit. Learn how to vibrate higher. Okay.
Why?
Learn how to vibrate higher, because this is how you're going to be able to transmute and transform those lower kind of vibrations. And this is also how you are going to be able to be of service to other people who may need your type of healing, your type of frequencies and vibrations. So where you learn to vibrate higher, you're transmuting, you're transforming stuff within yourself. That means there's going to be more space in you. When you vibrate higher, you're then able to connect with those people that are vibrating at those levels. So if you're vibrating low, chances are you're going to, attract low vibrational people. This is Albert Einstein law of attraction. Whatever frequencies, vibrations you're vibrating at, you're going to attract according to that. So where people say things like, oh, you've got a really nice, group of friends, it's because you're vibrating that. So that's why you've attracted that. If you're attracting, friends that are not nice, it's because you're vibrating that. So that's why you're attracting that. And that idea can be easy to work with, and it can be hard to work with, because then there will come a realization of like, oh, I'm vibrating this way, so that's why I'm attracting this arsehole, or that's why I'm attracting this horrible person. See, that's hard to work with. But for me, it's frequencies and vibrations. Vibrate high. When you vibrate high, you seem to, attract those kind of lighter beings, let's say, that are doing the work with themselves, and they're showing up a certain way, let's say.
Where are you finding joy in your life these days?
Finding joy in my life these days. Where am I finding it? I'm finding it in my learnings. I get excited when I, figure out how to heal, in a certain way. I get the most joy in learning, which is like so funny for me personally, because in my younger years, like I found school like tough. I found some of the classes boring. And the idea of, self-learning would have been like, oh God, I'll only do it if I have to. Whereas now it's the opposite. I'm like really eager to learn certain topics that come up in my sessions. I'm curious. I'm like, Jesus, what is that? Or if I see something that I've never seen before energetically, I'm like, oh, Jesus, what is that? And I start to, naturally do the learnings kind of that way. That's what's given me the some of the joy, I suppose. It's the learnings and the ability to be able to be of service in a certain way then as a human being then. That's kind of what's bringing me joy at the moment. I bet you're looking for me to say like my husband is giving me the most joy.
I was waiting for that one. I could be waiting a while.
I can't be giving you that the whole time now,
Why not? Is there a message that you want to leave with the listeners before we kind of finish up? Is there anything that you wanted to reassure or clarity or, a message that you wanted to convey?
I guess my message really is open your mind. It's really simple. Open your mind and open your heart. They're key. Nothing is as it really seems. There's more. But it starts with opening your mind and allowing yourself to listen. Listen to your intuition. Listen to your inner knowing. Listen to your inner guidance. But my message is very simple. Open your mind, open your heart, and remember that you are here for a reason. You're here to learn, you're here to grow, you're here to expand, you're here to be of service. But it starts by you opening your mind and opening your heart.
I was smiling there because that's beautiful. And the first thing I go to is, how do I do that? But that's not opening. That's the opposite of what you're saying. So then trying to work out, how do I open my mouth? So I'm learning this process of the trusting myself and not asking the questions, basically. So there's a difference between curiosity and so when you're saying open your mind, I'm thinking, okay, so what do I need to do to open my mind? So it's like a process going on. So then I'm in my head and I'm not opening my mind. So then what happens is I just relax and then I forget about it. And then a situation comes up later on that day and then there will be an option to open my mind or close my mind. So then I will be doing it instead of thinking about what is involved in doing it. It's an interesting one because it's overthinking. And by overthinking, I'm closing my mind, basically.
Yeah.
I could talk to you all day, but we have a babysitter, and I have to get home and make the Valentine's dinner and stuff. So, thank you so much for sharing parts of you today. Growing more. Thank you, Nicoline.
Medasi.
My pa. I just wanted to say some stuff that was kind of wrapping up. We are so grateful to you for listening and being here with us. You can find more videos on YouTube. We have 5 episodes. If you like what you've heard and seen today, you can check us out in more depth. Our Instagram is The Healing Forest. The website is thehealingforest.ie. Loads of offerings, loads of good stuff. We would love it if you made contact with us and gave us some feedback. See you in the forest.